Do you know these days when you just whatever for whatever reason it's just a weird day, you don't feel well, everything is just meh, and then you just need a little bit of a pick me up, and so you scroll and scroll and scroll, and then you just see something where like, yeah, that could do it, and then you buy an eyeshadow palette that you actually didn't plan to buy. And for me, that was the Arttitude Arcana palette, and I eventually decided to get this for two reasons, to be honest. One, I have never tried Arttitude cosmetics because their previous color stories, they were good, like the, I think, vintage rose or smoke rose or something. That is a beautiful color story, but I just know that I wouldn't use this with a passion. I would just use it and be like, yeah, it's okay. But the Arcana palette, color story wise, that is right up my alley. The second reason I bought this was the first reason that I just said? Was the first reason that there wasn't a color story that was going to fit, or was it the quality that I have never tried? No matter what it was, but at the oh my god, but at the end, no color story really spoke to me yet, and I haven't tried them in general. So my curiosity of the formula from Arttitude Cosmetics, that was quite high, because my friend Jen from Jen's Beauty Nest, who sadly on Instagram is not really active anymore, I hope she's doing well, but she got a baby not too long ago, so I guess she's just caught on real busy. She was always raving about Arttitude Cosmetics, and a lot of people that I see on Instagram, I have not seen a lot of negative reviews, mainly for color story reasons, if so. And with the Arcana palette, I thought, you know what? Let me just dig into this and let me get this. So here you have it. This is the Arttitude Cosmetics Arcana palette, very inspired by magic and dragons and shit. And just upon first glance, is there something that you find misplaced? I will spoiler you. The shade that I'm wearing is really misplaced in my opinion. It's the shade Treasure, but more in the looks. Let's at first here talk about the swatches, and let me just get this right out of the way. I am right of the bat. No, right of the way, right out of the way. Wow. They swatched so nice. The mattes are quite powdery, so you have definitely dusty pants after you use them. But I like that, to be honest. I like that more than just way too hard pressed drier ones that have no dustiness and no like build up on your brush, but they are so hard to apply. These swatch well, they apply well, and they blend very, very well. So that was a surprise to begin with. And the shimmers are different. They are so different from what I expected, because I expected a little bit more punchiness, but to be honest, the majority in here, aside from, I would say, Scales, which is the second to last shimmer, and Treasure, the silvery one here, all these have this clear base mixed with more or less shifty pigments, so that they give a very ethereal glow in the dark vibe. That I was not expecting this, so I am surprised, and I'm very positively surprised. So that was a win to begin with. And I do think the question that all of you are asking is, how close is this actually to Dancing Lights from Gloss Gods? And before I show you swatch comparisons, let's just hold them side by side. Not only the background is literally the same color, we have a lot of shade twins here, but the Arcana palette has more gray mixed in, while the Dancing Lights is really focusing on these pastel neon goth Northern Lights inspired looks. But I do see a lot of similarities. Let me just give you here some comparisons of the swatches, and I think that this is a really good example of, this is not shade duping at all, I think, but I do believe we have intense vibe dupes going on here. I do honestly believe that if you have one or the other, you won't be unhappy when you purchase the other one, but I'm pretty sure that you will just have very similar outcomes, because that is just a thing to consider always. What it looks in the pan is not what it's going to be on your eye because of color theory, and it's not 100% opaque always. Your skin is showing through, and so even when shades maybe look similar or very different here in the pans, because of that, they can appear very, very similar. So I'm honest with you, aside some specific shades like Treasure, like down here, Legends, or like Truth, the more grayish ones, or Hidden that are more desaturated, grayish purple vibes, or pure grays, you will have very, very similar looks with Arcana and Dancing Lights. But that just for comparison. I don't want to say anything about the quality. You know, Dancing Lights knocked me off the socks. It just really punched me in the face and gave me black eye. But now we want to talk about Arcana, and as usual here you get 3 looks, and at the end my final thoughts and ranking. We do all agree that we're not talking about this. I just have fresh black hair and the first 2 days are always looking like this, so let's just go into this. And I'm really excited for the first look because by the time that I film this I have already done the swatches, and I am excited. So let's start actually with the shade Magic. I apply Magic in the crease, but mainly above for a good transition area. I then go into Power, and I run this through the crease. And now I go into Hidden, and I apply this here on the outer part. I am applying this on the outer lid part, and then I'm blending it also in the outer crease. And I'm also applying a little bit here on the inner part, but I for now just tap it on. I wiped off the brush a little bit so that I don't have too much pigment here. And now I just start to blend out any harsh edges and lines and shit. I now go into Sorcery, and I apply Sorcery now all over my lid, and it just turns into such a cool shifty shade because of the darker outer and inner bits. Let's add a little bit of Lilac Spice here with ColourPop's Plum Smash, and I line my waterline with that. And then I pick up Hidden again, and I smudge this here on the complete lower lash line. And then I pick up Power and run this slightly below that. For the inner corner highlight, let's take Secrets. I kind of want to keep with the purple, but this is more bluish golden purple. It reminds me a little bit of Cleona Regal. And I apply this here on the inner corner. Okay, I take that back. It is not like Cleona Regal. This here is way more purple, but there is a hint of blue and a little bit of gold peeking through. So yeah, on the brush actually it looks like Regal or Pisces from Dip Cosmetics, but it actually isn't, which I'm happy about. And here we have the finished look now. For the lips, obviously nothing right now because of this little motherfucker here that probably is going to last me until the whole video is ending. I just hope that it will go away very, very soon. But yeah, first look, honestly, I'm digging this. It is very, very pretty. And what I do like now upon the first application is the fact that the shimmer, Sorcery especially, of course, I can only talk about. It is impactful, it is loud, it is there, but it is also so thin that it does not overpower the look. Everything just comes together really nice, and I'm just even more excited now for the next 2 looks. So you see these looks like one after one, but for me there were like 2 days now of paused filming, so don't worry, this is not getting worse. It's actually getting better. This is now my final form of these blisters, and I know that this is healing right now. But let's head into the Arcana palette again, and I feel, how do I feel? I feel gray and blue because I do want to save the bluish green look with the Arcana shades, scales, and the shades of dragon and depth. I want to save that for the last look. So I know what I'm going to do. I have a vision, and that vision comes to life by starting with Legends. I apply this above the crease as a super light transition. Now pick up Truth. I run this through my crease. I am really happy with these mattes. I'll just want to give you that as a in-between info. I really enjoy the way they blend, the way they apply. And now I pick up Soar. Yeah, it's Soar. It's not as dark as I would like it to have for this look, but let's see. When I blend this here on the outer V part, blending it in, I go in actually with a second layer to see how far I can deepen it. Now I'm picking up Treasure, which is honestly, it feels a little bit misplaced in the palette because it is neither leaning blue nor leaning purple or any kind of other shade in here. Is no blue. This is just a more gunmetal based silver, I would call this, because it's not silver. There's a lot of gray going on there, but I feel like this now all over the lid is going to be freaking beautiful. And oh boy, that shit is that's reflective. I start with Soar again. And I apply this on the outer, yeah, I'd say good half or 2/3. Yeah, more like 2/3. And then I'm picking up Truth. And that one I start to blend where Soar ends, bringing it inwards. And then I'm just blending it slightly lower, but on top to just smooth it out. For the inner corner highlight, I tap into Mystery. That seems to shift greenish. And I apply that, yeah, on the inner corner. Oh, it does shift green and pink. Okay, like mint and super light pink. Very interesting though. To be honest, so far, I'm not a fan of the look. There is just something a bit off, and that is mainly because of the Treasure shade. Maybe I should have combined this with Folklore and some other shades, but let's see how it pulls together when I have mascara on. And here we have the finished look. I'm honest with you, the mascara, it did tie it together a little bit, but overall, I think the combo just of the blues in here with that gunmetal-y darker silver. I even see a hint of green in there. That did not make a lot of sense. So I do think that this shade is a little bit misplaced here in the whole color story, but maybe I was just combining it wrong. For the lips, I didn't go with any lip color, but I just cracked open the Izamaya the liquid lip balm that she has, and it's described as glass lips, and honestly, it does look like that, and it feels very comfortable, but it's just my second day using it, so I have not a review for you. But that's also not the theme of the video, so moving on now to look number 3 and my final thought. I can't believe I'm saying this, but let's now do the look that I'm the most excited about, and that is the green one. I just wanna, I wanna calm your tit now. I still hate olive greens, although I know that you love when I wear olives and dirty greens, but my passion burns for cool toned greens, these blue-based ones, and I cannot wait to put Scales and Arcana on my eyes. So you know what? I don't want to talk about this anymore. I want to smur it on. And I actually start right away with the shade Folklore. In Germany, it's Folklore, so I assume it's folklore in English. And I use this not only in the crease, but I am buffing this out towards the brow. Oh boy, this is a blue-green with a lot of gray in it. This looks like an old wet stone in a cavern. Does that description make sense? I have no clue, but I also don't care because I really love this color. I now pick up the shade Dragon. I start to blend this here on the inner crease part, and I bring it a little bit above the center, but not all the way outwards. And I don't know if you can see, but there is a little bit of glitter now going on in my crease, which is not from the Dragon shade. It's because there was just glitter stuck here on the brush itself, but I don't mind that. And now I pick up Depths, which is just the definition, I think, of a petrol shade. And that one I apply here on the outer V, and I just cat liner-ish blend it out. And then I flick it up and mix it together with the Dragon shade here. Glitter glue is on, and I'm starting with Scales. And I apply this on the outer third here. Oh, this is so pretty. This matches just the outer mats so well. The shift of Scales is super interesting because depending on how I turn my hat, I actually see more blue, I see more green, I see lilac, turquoise, petrol, everything. The whole palette of this color range. I now go into Arcana, so the palette's name as the shade, so I assume that this is actually everything that this palette should represent here. And I start to apply this on the inner part of the lid. This is where I want to have the most concentrated shade here packed on. And then I let it swing out towards the center, and where it meets with Scales, I just dust it on top. For liner, I'm pretty sure that the About Face line artist in Call Me Crazy matches here very, very well because it is also a bluish green. And I surprisingly line the waterline with that. Okay, it's more green than blue, but I still think it matches. I now pick up Depths and smudge this here on the complete lower lash line. And of course pick up some of Dragon and smudge that slightly below and smoke it out. For the inner corner highlight, I could use a little bit of Arcana. I think Treasure would make a great contrast, but I do want to take Mystery because of the really, really pretty shifts that this has. And I apply this here and connect it with the lid and smudge a little bit here on the lower lash line. That Mystery shade is just so much more intense than you would expect it when you see it in the pan. It's crazy. And here we have the finished look. On the lips, I decided to just do it and applied actually a lip gloss. It's the Pillow Balm lip treatment from Too Faced. Not 100% sure if this is really meant to be a lip gloss, but the shade is really pretty. But, oh boy, that motherfucker is tingling AF. Here we have it, and to be honest, this is, just as I expected, my favorite look. Oh, I love this look so much. It just has everything that I love, and if you wonder, I don't know how good you can tell, why my brow bone is so shiny and it looks borderline wet. I love the face glaze from Amaya Beauty. I just want to point that out again, that this is just the product that surprised me out of the core line the most, and that I, out of the core line, together with the contour sticks, enjoy the most. But that just as a side note here. Let's talk about the palette now. When it comes to quality, I actually gave this a 9 out of 10 because I was actually thinking of giving this a 10 because I don't have a lot to criticize about the quality here. The mattes apply well, they blend well, they are just a dream to work with. The shimmers, they are not what I expected. I expected maybe even a little bit too squishy shimmers, but they are nothing like that. They are insanely opaque. They apply so well, which makes me very happy, honestly. And I just couldn't pull the trigger for the 10 because I have to think, or I had to think about other palettes that I gave a 10 in quality, which, for example, is the Adept Cosmetics Emo palette. This has a 10 in quality, and if I had to compare quality of this and the emo one, I still would prefer quality-wise emo. So I think with a 9 out of 10, this describes this perfectly. It is way above average. It is an extraordinary quality to work with, but it's not the perfect quality in my opinion. The color story, this is actually a bummer because I was about to give this also a 9 out of 10 with the reason that I wish that there was not this shade called Sacred. I haven't even used this. I would have loved to have a gray instead here. And I actually had to then scale it even lower at an 8.5 out of 10 because of Treasure. You saw this in the look that I did with this, but in general, I do think that Treasure is a little bit misplaced in the palette. I'm pretty sure I can combine it in a great look, maybe even with Sacred, Folklore, and Treasure, just as a trio beautiful. But with the theming here of the palette, I don't think this fits the color story very well for my personal liking. My personal excitement then, I ranked again at a 9 out of 10. I didn't pull the trigger for the 10 out of 10 because I initially was not drawn to this palette, so it would be unfair to give it a 10 when I gave, for example, the emo palette a 10 in excitement because I was from the beginning stoked for the palette. That's just why I decide numbers like that. So in total, this palette scored actually an 8.8 out of 10, which is honestly an amazing scoring. And I also looked up what other palettes I ranked at an 8.8 for several different reasons. And Adept Cosmetics Cyber Choir has an 8.8, Blend Bunny Sugar Grunge has an 8.8, and Natasha Denona's Retro Glam palette, the big one, that has also an 8.8. So honestly, I think that fits in that family very well. And I myself, let's close the book here, I am very happy that I pulled the trigger on Arttitude Cosmetics, that I tried this, and honestly, they just moved so high up in my radar list of brands to watch out for new releases. I am very excited what Arttitude is coming out next with. I am happy that I tried this, that I gave it a shot, and told you in the beginning with the Gloss Gods Dancing Lights, I don't think that you need to have both since they will come out similar in vibe, but I do see why you could enjoy both. But you know me, make the mindful purchase, and I truly don't think that you miss out with one or the other when you have only one of them. But if you thought of trying Arttitude Cosmetics, but you were like me and were not really sure, yeah, is it for me, is it not? I am happy with this and I can recommend them. Let me know as always down below which one was your favorite look. I already told you this is my favorite. The second place is the first look that I did, and my least favorite was the second look here in the video because of the Treasure shade. Let me know your thoughts on Arttitude in general. Have you tried them too? Let me know, and I will, no wait, I have another outro. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out any of the other upcoming videos, and I'll see you very soon.